We'll now call the March 7th, 2024 City Council meeting to order.
Councilmember Howe.
Present.
Councilmember Hyman.
Present.
Councilmember Jackson.
Here.
Councilmember Worth.
Here.
Councilmember Wright.
Here.
Vice Mayor Riffle.
Here.
Mayor Malpajoe.
Here.
This evening we have our prayer and pledge by Councilmember Howe.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we gather in these chambers to do your business and the business of our city and its citizens, and we ask that you bless this city and these chambers and this council, as well as our staff and employees. And we ask that you keep our employees safe as they do their jobs and keep our city safe as well. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wasn't it Gary's first time to do the prayer?
He did last time. Petitions, communications, and public hearings. Tim Gentilozzi, 122 Waverly Way, wishes to address council concerning excessive police fines and lack of adequate investigation.
I don't know if everybody got a copy of this, but one
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Jackson? I thought you said you were the reason
Thank you for letting me address the council tonight. As you can see from the letter that I wrote, I've had a real issue with the city of Clarksburg over an excessive police force case involving the tasering of my client in handcuffs by an unknown Clarksburg police officer. This case went to a jury trial, and the jury found that the city of Clarksburg's police officer attacked my client. Since that date, this case has been to the Supreme Court, it's been in federal court, and I've not been able to get the city of Clarksburg to initiate an investigation into this case. Now, once the verdict was rendered by the jury in Harrison County, Martin Howe was the city manager. He initiated a statement in the press that said, "The city respects the jury's verdict." And I've yet to see any actions by this city that reinforces that you respect the city's verdict, the jury's verdict, and that you will look for the person who attacked this woman in handcuffs. You're not winning anything by doing this. You're not winning anything morally. You're not winning anything legally. Pretty much you created a record in the Supreme Court that makes the city look bad. So here we are. I've been to Mrs. Fell's office. I've sent her communication previously. I've communicated post-Supreme Court verdict with the other city managers and police chief. And I just found myself at this point, I have to ask a federal investigator to get involved. And I just find that to be unfortunate. So if you get attacked in handcuffs by a police officer, you see something, you say something. My client saw something and she said something. It just happened to be that the criminal was a Clarksburg police officer. So you owe her the same debt and duty as you owe anybody else who's a victim of a crime. So to not investigate this crime just because he's an employee of your business or our city government is inappropriate. And I shouldn't have to be here today to do this. And I've made many, many, many attempts behind the scenes. I know I've spoken with everybody up here. And I just ask you to do the right thing. And I hope Mr. Ehlenfeld gets involved and he'll come in and speak with you, because I just ask you to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pam Mitchell, 1010 Van Buren Street, wishes to address council concerning lack of streetlights on Lowndes Hill.
I'm tall enough to reach this. Good evening, City Manager Fell, City Clerk Wright, Mayor Malpajoe, and members of the Clarksburg City Council. My name, as she said, is Pam Mitchell, and I have lived in Chestnut Hills for all but 4 of my 71 years. I love my community, and that is why I'm here tonight, to address a safety issue that has existed for many, many years. The area to which I'm referring is known as Lowndes Hill. In particular, the road that from the last house on South 2nd Street, going up toward the entrance of the YMCA, then the exit of the YMCA and the water tank, and down to where Van Buren Street begins. There's only one street light up there, and that is on the water tank. The lack of lights in this area hinders motorists' vision at night. Deer and other wildlife populate the area and are known to run out in front of vehicles. Sometimes there are actually people walking up there after dark, and that they are very difficult to see. Meeting another vehicle in the curve where the water tank is difficult even in daylight, much less at night. I've reached out to every board member of the City Council via Facebook Messenger, and I've received a reply from most of you. So thank you for your suggestion to come before this body of City Council members, so here I am. I know that some of you have actually drove up there to observe the after dark situation yourselves. Thank you for that again. My husband, who is a retiree of the power company, contacted them about the lack of lighting in that area. They stated that a request would have to come from the City Council, not from an individual. And I understand that it would be costly to add streetlights in that area, and that does not have an infrastructure already in place. And I wonder if money from maybe the COVID relief funds could be used toward the installation of those lights, or perhaps the poles could be replaced with transformers. And it's my understanding that that would be less costly. How tragic it would be if an accident occurs in that area that could have been prevented if adequate lighting was in place. To quote one member of the City Council who replied back to me, said, "More lights not only helps with vehicle safety, but also helps with crime prevention." If you have not done so yet, I would encourage you to go up there and drive and see for yourself at night, particularly if it's raining, and see for yourself the problem for which I am referring. I thank you for your time and all your attention to this matter of the existing inadequate lighting of Lowndes Hill.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. We can't use that money for that, can we?
Chris Lane.
How's everybody this evening? A little odd being off here to the side instead of in the center. Am happy to say that since the last meeting, I have received all the FOIA responses. In roughly 6 months in the making, but have got them all. I am slightly disappointed that I feel the reason I did receive them is ultimately after the last meeting, I was assured I'd have them the following week. The following week came and went, like previous assurances. And the week after that, I had to go file a federal suit to receive the FOIA responses. I think it was in light of the federal suit that I ultimately got the responses. I think that was just disappointing it's taken this long. But for the time that it has taken, I'd like to think that all the questions got a thorough review, all the responses got a thorough review. With that in mind, the response that probably is the most concerning to me is on the FOIAs that I had regarding insurance benefits with council. I understand you guys are paid a very nominal wage, but for some reason there's also insurance tacked onto it. And my understanding, council and the city manager is the only individuals in the city that gets their insurance completely covered at no cost. It's also my understanding that council is the only part-time group that's not working full-time hours that's even eligible for insurance benefits. To my knowledge, if a regular employee of the city is working part-time, they're not even eligible to participate in city insurance. It's also my understanding that in addition to be able to receive insurance, council has the option to maintain their private insurance, should they have it, and receive a full reimbursement from the city for their private insurance. I submitted multiple FOIAs with questions around the insurance. If there was an ordinance in place, a policy, a statute, something in the handbook. And the response that I was provided is that the only thing the city has in regards to council insurance is that it's added into the budget every year. Which then raised some other questions for me, because to my understanding, elected officials are not allowed to vote and take action on any type of benefits that they may directly receive. If you're able to vote on benefits for future councils, or for councils beyond your term, but, to vote on a budget that takes place during your term, that you're directly receiving a benefit for, that there's no other policy, ordinance, or statute in place for, is curious. Frankly, it's disappointing. I know as council members, I think annual salaries is like $2,500, $3,000 a year. Okay. Last fiscal year, it was $2,500 per council member, $3,000 for the mayor. And I know in your case, Mayor Malfajoe, last year, your insurance premiums cost the city roughly $15,000, as per the spreadsheets that the city provided. So I was just curious if any of you guys knew why insurance was provided, and if you didn't and don't know the background behind it, if you're gonna look into it before voting on this year's budget. I believe I'm out of time. Thank you.
Approval of the minutes of the regular session of February 15, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Approval of the minutes of the conference work session of February 15, 2024.
Move we approve the conference work session minutes for February 15, 2024.
Second.
We got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Approval of the minutes of the conference work session of February 15, 2024.
Point of inquiry, I guess there's two dates there that are the same.
Is that supposed to be the 22nd?
No, we had the meeting, and immediately following the regular meeting,
Okay.
we went to we went to a special session. So we did them both in the same night.
Okay, well, I'll move we approve the conference work session minutes from February 15, Part 2, 2024.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Approval of the minutes of the special session of February 29, 2024.
So moved. Second.
We got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Managers report.
So for the city park, there's course improvements with the mini golf. The pickleball project process is complete and the bid was awarded. The field is starting to get some regular play, the Loria Field. The indoor facility continues to be used on a daily basis, and they're continuing to hire staff in all positions for the park. These will all be seasonal hires. Code enforcement, there's been 45 total building permits with a total job cost of just over 2.3 million. There's been a number of boarding and securing of structures, and residential construction inspections and commercial construction inspections. Animal control complaints are still being referred to Harrison County, and there's a number of city engineer projects that are ongoing. The finance department B&O tax is $793,000. There's been money realized by the city for business licenses, citation, parking tickets, building permits, fire service fees, accident reports, demo and build permit fees. The Clarksburg Fire Department handled a total of 467 calls when this report was completed. They completed 1,399 training hours and 3 days of thermal imaging camera training in February. We are now in fire season, meaning no outdoor unattended fires and only burning with permit after 5 p.m. This will last from March 1st through May 31st. In the month of February, the police department responded to 2,178 calls for service. Motorists are reminded to use extra caution on US Route 50 between 3rd and Joy Street due to construction. And the police department is 50% complete on the installation of security cameras in the city. Public Works has been busy replacing storm lines, working in the manholes, responding to 17 sewer calls and 9 camera and line locations. They've secured a number of vacant properties and assisted contractor with the installation of security cameras throughout the city. The Robinson Grand lineup for March is out. You can go to their website to see what they will be hosting during the month at therobinsongrand.com. And the water and waste treatment plants, they are repairing the final number 2 Clarifier drive. They are currently in the middle of the ERA testing, and the WVDEP will be at the plant March 11th for an annual inspection. And as always, a reminder to the public to please not flush baby wipes or flushable wipes down the drains. They do not dissolve and can cause blockages in the sewer line as well as damage to the pump. 2 more quick things before we go on. We had an incident out on Highway 50 yesterday. Thankfully, there was no injuries, and I wanted to say thank you to police, fire, public works, water and waste, and all the agencies that got involved to ensure that cleanup was quick. I know there was some delays in traffic, so our apologies for that, but everything was taken care of. And on a second note, we went through an IT change in the city in December. I've mentioned this during budget, but I felt it was important to mention to council again. That was a quick transition in our IT department. We brought in an external consulting firm to help us out, but our deputy chief in the police department has also done a great job outside of his regular police duties to ensure a smooth transition when we went through that change in December. And thanks to him for all his help off work hours and during work hours, and for Chief Kitty for allowing that support to be provided as well.
If I may, I'm glad the truck accident cleaned up and everybody was okay, and it was a good response, great response by all the personnel involved. In the future, I think I asked this before, but if you can notify, my understanding is, was it a city vehicle?
It was a city vehicle.
In the future, when these types of things happen, if council could be notified, I did not realize that until today, and I was kind of floored that we were not notified that was the city dump that caused havoc all over the place in Clarksburg and congestion. But, I'd like to know, if you could summarize for us in a memo, the procedures taken, if the proper procedures were taken, the incident, we don't need to know the employee's name, but, what incident and what actions were taken upon him, who was found at fault, things such as that. But, I think those are crucial that we kept abreast of those type of actions when they happen, especially when that's severe. So I'm sure that vehicle is no longer in use and will be in use. It's probably totaled. So just thought I'd bring that up.
Maybe.
I want to go back to, Will, you are right. I had the wrong date on that one, so it's February 22nd. You were right, because I had February 15th up here.
It's okay, I just saw the
Yes.
date and I was
Yes,
a little
February
confused.
22nd. So I corrected that. Okay. Unfinished business, consideration of second final reading and public hearing of an ordinance to approve current replacement pages to the codified ordinances. Notices regarding the public hearing appeared in the Exponent Telegram on February 20 and February 27th.
We will now open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak for or against may do so at this time. We will close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
New business, consideration of first reading of an ordinance of the City of Clarksburg to amend Section 505.05 of the codified ordinances to permit certain livestock.
I move we amend section 505.05 of the codified ordinances to permit certain livestock.
Second. Discussion. I'd like to read a statement here. While small farm animals never completely disappeared from most cities, a growing number of communities are revisiting their animal control and zoning regulations in response to a renewed interest in chickens, bees, goats among urban agricultural practitioners and backyard hobbyists. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
All,
Martin Howe,
No.
Will Hyman,
Aye.
Mark Jackson,
No.
Wayne Worth,
No.
Hattie Wright,
No.
Vice Mayor Ripple,
Aye.
Mayor Malpajo.
yes.
Yeah,
So the motion fails.
motion fails. Consideration of first reading of an ordinance of the City of Clarksburg to create Section 1505.06 fees of the codified ordinances.
Yes, so moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion.
Just to confirm, this is the one, let me go back here. I'm looking at my agenda on my phone, I'm sorry. So 1505.06, is that, I'm sorry.
Well, if I may, it's a plan review that we can charge for inspections, permits, and approval for fire prevention codes.
So if I may, what's the difference between item C on the agenda? I mean,
Do you know if we can get the fire chief?
is that the plan to,
I'll get my notes as well.
There's a schedule.
I was looking at it on my phone.
Go ahead, chief.
So the ordinance for the fire marshal is to allow for the fire, anything that the fire marshal does for inspection, then he is able to charge for that small fee. Most generally, it is for commercial business, things like that. Not really anything to do with residential, and it mimics the city of Morgantown and what their fire prevention team does also.
Okay, so if I may,
Yes,
item
sir.
B and item C go hand in hand. Item B is the amendment of the ordinance, and then item C is the schedule, the fee schedule, right? Is that how I understand the agenda?
That schedule's with this item.
Very good.
No.
So I had a question on this too. So you're saying this is mainly just for commercial properties? Because, I mean, I'm reading here too, like special outdoor event permits, $100. Even a tent at events, an inspection of a tent would be like $25.
Most generally, again, you're dealing with festivals, things like that, the vendors that are doing that.
Okay.
The project is not to charge the citizen per se. You know, somebody wants to put up a tent just for a party or something like that. That's not the intent of it. It's for the festival. It's for the business person that is trying to make money. There are certain things that we have to inspect. We have to make sure that their propane tank is secured. We have to make sure that there's no fire hazard, that they have a fire extinguisher, things that we have to make sure of so that way, in case something does happen, it's taken care of.
And I had another question too. Is there an issue with funding the city fire marshal? Do we have to impose this fee because we're having budgetary difficulties with trying to fund this? Or?
No, honestly, I'm looking to recover some funds from this so that I can do more with my fire inspector, my fire marshal, get him some more tools that I'm able to do better in fire investigation. A meter that I can use to find combustible fuels.
Okay.
Chief,
Yes.
I saw, and I may be quoting you incorrectly, but the newspaper said you have maybe 6 or 7 inspections a year.
6 or 7 a month.
Oh, a month, I'm
A
sorry.
month, yes.
I'm sorry. How much, okay, I guess, second question part of this is, how much money do you anticipate, I guess, revenue generated from, you know,
Less than $5,000.
a year or?
A year. Yes.
You know, I kind of have a problem with this because, you know, when a commercial investor comes into the city to invest in our city and they have to go to code to apply for building permits and everything else, and code enforcement comes back to us, you know, those inspections are covered by the cost of these building permits. And I'm kind of the mindset that, you know, we're kind of double dipping here for something that, you know, they've kind of already paid for in the way of a building permit. You know, if they get a building permit and part of that building plan is to install a sprinkler, I mean, you're gonna come out and, you know, take a look at it, make sure it's operating correctly or meets code. So, you know, I'd like to think that, you know, we're trying to promote an environment of people who wanna come in here and do business and not be nickel and dimed, per se, to do business here in Clarksburg, and unfortunately, I just can't support that, so I'll be voting no.
Did you say that the city of Morgantown, this is the standard they follow?
Yes, ma'am. I copied their entire charge list. They furnished it to our fire marshal, which in turn furnished it to me.
Okay, and as of right now, we're not charging anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I would somewhat agree with Councilman Hyman. I think, you know, I think that's something I think we should boast upon and promote, that, you know, we don't charge the fees, the additional fees and things such as that. I mean, there's other cities throughout the state that do charge plan reviews, large plan reviews, minimal plan reviews, but that is additional cost to a potential investor or developer coming in. You know, so I mean, if they want to choose between cost effectiveness, I mean, I hate this to be a deciding factor, albeit it might be a small factor, but, you know, I mean, if you look at the fire and life safety plan review, that could be a big one. I mean, $1 for each 1,000 construction value up to $1 million, plus 80 cents for each million or each 1,000 construction value above 1 million. So you get large construction, that easily could steer somebody to stay clear of building something new here. But I would oppose that.
And I just have one more question, Chief. How much, you know, I mean, how much do you all need to provide the tools for the fire marshal?
I mean, I can budget that without a problem, and we're just looking to grow. I'm looking to
Okay.
grow. I'm looking to, I hate to say mimic, but I want to be better. I want to see our department grow, not only with my employees that I have, but also with the services that we provide.
And I would love to see that happen too. When I look at this though, because even on construction, big construction projects, there's B&O on construction, and we're just going to impose another fee. I want the fire department to be successful.
Yes, sir.
And I want, you know, the fire marshal to have the tools that he needs. By doing something like this, like Councilman Howell said, it may possibly deter somebody from, you know, wanting to, you know, put a development here. And
Yes, sir.
that's why, I mean, I think it'd be better if there was like, if you did budget that in. I mean, I would support that 100%. You know, I just don't know if I could support this, you know. So, I mean, my thing is, I just think it should be done another way instead of just, you know.
I understand completely. I'm exploring ways. This was one method here, and that's fine. I will continue to explore ways that I can do better for our department and for our city.
Yeah, and I don't have any other problem for us going after like insurance companies and getting fees that way.
Yes, sir.
I do worry about nickeling and diming the, you know, the business owner or the individual if they want to have an event with a tent or carnival or, you know, festivals. Yeah, so I'd rather us maybe limit that and just insurance companies and things like that.
Yes.
was to cover our
Understood
fees.
completely.
Just for an additional point for you.
Yes,
Even though you did copy it from Morgantown, I'll just caution you in the future that there's nothing in the ordinance that states that those funds collected go to the fire department. So I can guarantee you, it's going to the general fund.
I'll be cautious of that in the future.
All in favor?
No,
Nay.
Martin Howe,
no.
Will Hyman.
No.
Mark Jackson,
No.
Wayne Worth,
No.
Patty Wright,
No.
Vice Mayor Riffle,
No.
Mayor Malpajet.
No.
Motion. Consideration of first reading of an ordinance of the City of Clarksburg, West Virginia to adopt a plan review and permitting fee schedule in connection with the fire marshal inspections.
That's the one we just did.
That's the one we just,
Well,
That
it's
was my-
actually,
That's the additional.
That was my question
the
about
B and
the
C
agenda.
kind of go together. I got you.
So I would just withdraw, I would do a motion to withdraw that. I mean, you can vote on it if you want and deny
It could fail for lack of a motion.
We can do that too.
Yeah,
So
nobody
I just
makes-
wouldn't move it.
Okay, so next week.
I move we withdraw the item on the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Consideration of first reading of an ordinance of the City of Clarksburg to create section 127.03, non-emergency medical transport assistance fees.
Madam City Manager, for the purpose of people out here who don't understand what that is, could you explain that a little bit to? So
We
everyone
first have to
knows
have
what
a
Yeah.
motion.
We have to have a motion and a second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, open discussion. I mean, I'll move it just for discussion purposes.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion.
And I have an explanation written up, but I'm gonna ask the fire chief to explain it fully.
Sure. Okay, so a non-emergency transport is a transport that is contracted between an ambulance agency and either the hospital or the individual themselves to transport that person from point A to point B, whether that be their home to a doctor's appointment, their home to a dialysis appointment, whatever that may be, and then back again to their home. So that's what's considered to be a non-emergency transport.
And Chief, how does the fire department assist? Obviously, we can't transport these people unless you pack them up in the expedition. So not quite sure how the city gets involved here. Can you explain that to us?
So the ambulance agencies will ask the 911 center, or they will call us directly to ask for us to assist them in loading and unloading the patient. Most generally, this happens because the ambulance company has not staffed their ambulance correctly or appropriately to lift somebody that is of great weight. That in turn forces us to come out to assist them, not only to lift the patient, move them out of their bed, put them on a cot, getting them into the ambulance, and then several hours later doing the exact same thing in reverse. So all we're asking to do is in those instances when that ambulance company has been contracted and will be paid from the insurance company or, however that they have contracted that, for our role in that to be reimbursed. Very rarely does it happen, but it gives us a mechanism for if it becomes a problem, if it becomes repetitious to the point that it hinders the operations of the fire department.
Sure. And how much do you expect or estimate how much you would bill insurance to help?
I would not bill insurance a single penny. I would bill the ambulance agency $100 per instance. And then, again, they have already contracted with however they're going to do that. That fund would come directly from them. If they're unable or unwilling to pay, I can't really do a whole lot about that. Don't really want to do that. It's just more of getting the ambulance agency to staff appropriately. Again, in an emergent situation, the fire department will be there 24/7, doesn't matter. But in the non-emergent, this is one that is scheduled. They know that they have to be there. They know how big the patient is. They know the difficulties of the residents. the ambulance chooses to staff that way and then request our assistance.
Do you think you could give me an estimate on how many times you do this, a month or year or quarter?
It is, there are times that there are certain patients throughout the city that have come to that degree that they have to be transported 2-3 times a week.
Oh, wow.
There are other times that we go months without.
Mhm.
But it's better to have and use if we need to than not to have, and it becomes an issue.
Do you think there's an ambulance staffing issue in this county?
I definitely think there's an ambulance staffing issue in this county, not only in the county, but also in the state and nationwide.
Sure. I've read a little bit about it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Would you say that calls like, for ambulances to go after things like dialysis has increased the amount of time for response time because they have been, because that is more of a financial gain for them?
Yes, indeed. The business of ambulances is made by those transports. 911 is not the money-making business that people think that it is. Non-emergency transports and inter-facility transfers going from a facility like United Hospital Center to Ruby Memorial Hospital. There is great funds to be made out of that because it is an insurance that has already pre-approved it and will pay it to that ambulance service. The 911 system, on the other hand, whether you have insurance or not, when you call 911, the ambulance and the fire department shows up and transports that person to the hospital via the ambulance. Whether they have insurance or not, they're still being taken care of. And the fire department stands by that 100%. We will be there when called.
To me, it seems, I mean, it goes back to my original comment on the fire marshal issue, but, I understand, obviously, you guys are doing some serious labor here, especially if there's issues getting them out of the house or moving them into an ambulance. My concern is that we're tacking on another fee that, ultimately probably will be paid by an insurance provider or Medicare or something along those lines. And, I wonder if we're kind of missing out that we don't have an ambulance service here in the city of Clarksburg. I mean, we could be getting 100% of that revenue coming from these transports or, other calls within the city, like, advanced life support and other stuff, whether it's somebody, serious situation or somebody who just fell down or whatever. So it's hard for me to support something like this when we're just kind of like tacking on another fee that we're going to charge other people in the county or other municipalities, because it appears to me that sometimes Harrison County can't provide the services that we need, and we're, depending on other municipalities to move these people. So, I'm curious if we should maybe not reinvent the wheel here, but, talk about another way to do this instead of just applying a fee for something that, we may or may not see a lot of going, from month to month or even over the year.
I support Councilman Hyman's suggestion about, maybe we should think about later on about having an ambulance service ourselves. I think that would be, whether it's, emergency or non-emergency. I know Notre Fort has their own service. I'm going to support the fire department on this ordinance, and the only reason why is because when we have to expend resources on a non-emergency situation, okay, and an emergency does happen, that's less firefighters, to respond to a true emergency.
Yes.
And if this gets out of hand, where you have a dozen people have to go to dialysis that are scheduled, and whoever the ambulance service is, whether it's private or through a municipality, does not have the staffing to do that and requires our resources for a non-emergency purpose. I could see where, charging a fee would be appropriate for
Yes.
this. So I will support this solely because of that.
Thank you.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
I got one more. I was wanting to maybe looked at, because Councilman Howell made a comment earlier, and I agree that, is there a way we could amend this to where the money gained from this would remain with the fire department?
Well, as I mentioned during budget, which is on the record, that I have said to council it will be going in the fire budget, and that will be reflected in the fire budget.
Stay, what was gonna be reflected?
That money, any of these fees that are made by fire will be put into the fire budget.
I'd suggest amending that ordinance to do so. So it's known in the future, and none of us are here, where that money goes, because if I run again for council, another term, I don't want to be fighting over where the money goes like I am sales tax.
Well, I'll make a motion that we amend this section then to add the language that any fees that are collected from, this ordinance goes directly to the fire department.
I'll second that.
You have a motion, a second, all in favor?
No,
All opposed?
Martin Howe,
no.
Will Hyman,
Aye.
Mark Jackson,
Aye.
Wayne Worth,
Aye.
Hattie Wright,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ripple,
Aye.
Mayor Malpajoy.
Aye. Okay, now back to the original. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No,
Martin Howe,
no.
Will Hyman,
Aye.
Mark Jackson,
Aye.
Wayne Worth,
Aye.
Hattie Wright,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ripple,
Aye.
and Mayor Malpajoy.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Just for future thought, if I may, is by charging, have we checked or verified with the liability insurance now that we're charging? If we happen to do something, are we held liable for it?
I will check on that. I cannot tell you that off the cuff right now, but I will check on that and make 100% sure before the next meeting.
Like,
Consideration of first reading. Consideration of first reading of an ordinance of the City of Clarksburg to amend Section 127.02 of the codified ordinances.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Consideration of a Fair Housing Month resolution.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Consideration of a resolution approving amendments to the rules and regulations of the Police Civil Service Commission of the City of Clarksburg, West Virginia.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second that for the sake of discussion. Chief, do you mind gracing us with your presence about this? Give us a little rundown maybe, or I guess,
You want a copy of the resolution?
Yeah, because I can't remember all. There were several amendments. Basically, I'm trying to clean up some of the civil service local rules. It's been some time since they've been revised and some things have changed, and especially with our hiring practice and some past issues. The first one was appointments by
it's a fine.
reinstatement.
Sorry, Chief.
That's right. Actually thought it was my phone. And it's just putting the words into the civil service that reinstated officers would get credit for their accumulated seniority and longevity pay from when they served prior to the reinstatement. There's been prior civil service rulings in the past that reflects this in that favor. So I was just trying to put it into the civil service rules so there's never an argument in the future. Since it's already been brought up with the city attorneys in the past. And I checked with the civil service rules from Ms. Bright clear back to 1999 and provided this to the Civil Service Commission so they could review it and see it's already been ruled on before. We're just adding that wording. And the same thing was for the special rules applicable to eligibility list of probationary patrolmen. There was a past case where an officer had filed a grievance with the civil service that his year service during probation did not count towards his 2 years service to test for promotion. And of course, they ruled in the officer's favor that it did count as a year of service within the department, even though he was on probation. And we're just putting wording in there to clarify that, so there's never an argument in the future. Same thing with the 6.02, changing the wording to make it more clear that an officer has to have 2 years consecutive service to test for promotion. And this deals with an officer that, say, has 4 years in service and resigns, then comes back. Those 4 years do not go towards his 2 years consecutive for promotional test. He has to have 2 years, and that's under state code. He has to have 2 years consecutive.
But the individual would still get credit in their seniority for that time? You said if an individual had 4 years?
If they get reinstated, if they quit and get reinstated, they get credit for their
Whatever period of time they had spent
as far
prior to
as
the resignation.
their pay and their vacation and stuff like that. But under state code, to test for promotion, you have to have 2 years consecutive in the lower rank before you can test for an upper rank. And we're just cleaning up the language in that to make it more cut and dry, so there's never an argument.
Are you under 6.02?
Yes, sir.
But no change was made there except for the 1 year of probationary patrolman constitutes a year as patrolman, right? That's the only change in that section.
Right, right. We also wanted to change the physical fitness examination testing where it stated that you had to have 2 medical doctors approve the physical exam when you get promoted. We sent them to routine physical at Bridgeport Express. They go to the doctor, have a physical. I don't know if they've ever used 2 doctors. So we changed that to a medical doctor has to approve their physical condition to accept a promotion. Instead of having 2 doctors, I didn't see the sense of paying for 2 doctors to say he's physically fit to take the appointment. Then on the second page on 6.08, the eligibility list, it was changed back, I believe, in 2017. Once the eligibility list for promotions, once a promotion is made, the eligibility list was done. I requested from the Civil Service Commission, and they agreed that that should be a 1-year eligibility list. That list would be good for 1 year. So if a sergeant retires and we test for sergeant, we have 10 guys test for sergeant, to me, it doesn't make sense to retest after somebody's promoted and we might have another sergeant leave within that year. We can just go off the same list. And 6.09, testing examination required for promotion. That's just a language cleanup again to put the word consecutive years of service. And when they figure your promotional points, your seniority for your promotion goes in consecutive years. That's been stated before. 10.04, I'm sorry, that's the medical doctor. And I think there's one more. Just have to find it.
I'm not showing anything after 10.04, but I do appreciate your time, Chief.
Well, there is one more.
Is it
We
6?
waived the physical fitness test for prior certified police officers. When they test, if another officer tests for this department, they don't have to take the physical fitness test because they've already been to the academy, they've already passed that, and there's no need for it.
Does the chief, police have any more physical examinations that he has to take?
Who, me? I can still pass it.
I appreciate it. Chief.
The question I would have on 6.08, and that deals just with the eligibility list for promotional, correct?
I don't see that one on there.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
So by keeping that for 1 year,
yes.
and I get what you're saying, you have 5 on there eligible for sergeant from that test. You keep it for a year, 6, 7 months down the road, 5 more become eligible.
They'll have to wait till the next.
They have to wait for a year, another opening.
Yeah. But every time we give the promotional test, it costs the city $300. We gotta get somebody to give it, and that's the only thing most departments is a 2-year eligibility list. In the local, most of them are a year, so I went with a year. That was the only reason I wanted to change it.
I don't disagree. It's a small, I mean, in essence, it's a small fee to pay if an upcoming patrolman could be a stellar sergeant, doesn't have an opportunity to test, and those sergeant positions stay in year, because it's still a young force, relatively young force. Those sergeants could be there 10 years, locked them out. I mean, in essence, I mean, if there's no other promotionals going forward to take that place, to open it up. I had one more question as well. Under 4.06, number 2, 4, under 4.10, number 4. So we're going to waive a psychiatric examination just because you're already certified and coming from another department?
It says we can, at the chief of police's discretion. Doesn't say we will.
Well, I trust you.
Under state code, you do not have to do that.
Yeah. I can tell some officers from other departments, if they leave, typically, there might be other issues why they're leaving, and I'm not so sure that they might be for, well, all right, let's leave it there. I think that's all I had.
Any more discussion for the chief?
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
No.
All opposed?
Martin Howe?
No.
Will Hyman?
Aye.
Mark Jackson?
No.
Wayne Worth?
Aye.
Hattie Wright?
No.
Vice Mayor Riffle?
Aye.
Mayor Malpajoy?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries.
Consideration,
I'm sorry.
consideration of a resolution of the City of Clarksburg, West Virginia, to appoint Tiffany Feld to a vacant director seat on the Clarksburg Visitors Bureau, Inc.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Consideration of a resolution of the City of Clarksburg, West Virginia, to declare seat of Clarksburg Visitor Bureau, Inc. vacant.
So moved.
Second.
We have a
Discussion. Is it the practice of the council to start removing people from boards and commissions? Just, I want to personally know for future, so I can place things on agendas.
So council can place, depending on the bylaws of each individual committee, council can remove members, yes.
In fact, I believe it extends beyond it, but bylaws, Martian, the 2019 council passed an ordinance where they can remove anybody they want for whatever reason they want from any
Yes, for
board.
certain boards, but that doesn't apply in this situation.
Okay.
Because the Clarksburg Visitors Bureau is not a board of the city of Clarksburg. The Clarksburg Visitors Bureau is a separate entity with its own bylaws, of which
Sure.
the city of Clarksburg is the sole member.
Okay.
So it's not.
So it is just in their bylaws that this is doable by the
It's in
city, just
it's in
like,
the bylaws that the city of Clarksburg can declare a seat vacant.
Right, and there's a number of other city boards where you can put something on the agenda if there is a suggestion from a council member to remove a
I would think
member.
if they don't have their own bylaws, I think it would allow us to do that, all right? I mean, for example, the URA, right?
I think we have to take it on a board-by-board basis,
Okay.
because some of those boards are founded in state code and how they're governed, so we have to look at it on a board-by-board basis. I don't think it applies to all of them.
No, I believe like the old beautification committee, that could have been at the will of council to
Sure.
remove and appoint members, but
Yeah, I would think if they don't have their own set of bylaws,
Mhm.
or, you know, if their bylaws stipulated, I believe it would be within the realm of council to do that. I'll be the first to say I'm kind of concerned that the way this is headed here, considering what I've read in the paper and what I've read from certain members of that board. I think the city should be more active, obviously, on the CVB, you know, understanding what's going on. And Tiffany, I'd like in the manager's report going forward to have an update from the CVB when available.
yes, and part of my request to the board is going to be that the executive director actually came to council, just as we are going to request with the Harrison Economic Development Corporation to come and do a presentation to council, because in the end, that's in the city of Clarksburg, a portion of their budget is tax dollars.
Sure.
So there needs to be an accountability between those boards and the public.
Has anybody expressed anything about removing Mr. Ramirez from the CVB? I mean, I haven't heard anything. That's why, you know, when, you know, takes, obviously you were put in there literally the agenda item right before that. And, you know, now we're removing somebody else. It's just kind of concerning, and, you know, I don't know.
I've spoken with council, explained the situation. There's things that have gone that I've identified as the CVB I've been watching for a while that I think are concerning, and things need to change to ensure that there's accountability to the public on what happens with the CVB. And I strongly feel that with all departments, even if they're not directly governed by the city. For instance, the rec department, I work very closely with Doug Homer. The water board, I have a great relationship with Jason Myers. We work together as well. Same with the CVB. All these different entities, we all need to work together to make Clarksburg a better city, and to bring people into the city and just make it a vibrant city where economic development and the travel industry becomes more robust.
Anything else?
Well, that being said, I mean, it seems like the person who is being removed or would have to be named, I guess, in the motion. But other than that, I guess we can proceed.
You have a motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Point of inquiry, I mean, no one was
No
named to be
name.
removed.
You have to name them. I think you'd have to amend the motion.
That would be
I mean, the
Councilmember
agenda-
Jackson made the motion.
I'm sorry,
The resolution.
bear with me here, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, the resolution in the city agenda, I believe, says Mr. Ramirez's name. So, I mean, I would assume that one would have to motion to do that, but I'm not going to be supporting it, so.
Richard, do we need to add that in?
Yeah, you need to do a motion on which office you're going to declare vacant.
Okay.
So I don't think you would amend your motion. I don't think your motion is properly on the table. right now. I think you need to do a motion to remove whoever you want to remove, or declare the office vacant of whoever you want to declare the office vacant of. You're not removing it, but you're declaring the office vacant.
Okay. Did you catch that? Okay. So can they vote on that now?
If someone makes a motion, I think the motion that's currently pending is not a proper motion on the table, because it was just a motion to vacate.
Okay, so, Manette, can you read that out?
Yeah. Well, what, Councilmember Jackson made the motion and Vice Mayor Riffle made the second. But what we need is a motion stating the name. You made the motion just to start the discussion. So whoever's going to make a motion needs to make sure they mention which seat they're declaring vacant.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that the seat of, is it Luis Ramirez?
Yeah, Valterra.
Valterra be vacated.
We have a motion, we have a second.
No.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
No,
No.
All opposed?
No.
No.
no,
Martin Howe,
No.
Will Hyman.
no.
Mark Jackson,
Yes.
Wayne Worth,
No.
Hattie Wright,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Riffle,
Yes.
Mayor Malpajoy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Discussion regarding potential economic development project. Council comments?
Mr. Hyman?
Well, that was an interesting meeting. I think we got our money's worth from Madam Clerk. I'm kind of disappointed about the livestock ordinance, and I'll tell you why. I believe that West Virginia and the city of Clarksburg, especially with the makeup of our body here, has the ability to make West Virginia and the city of Clarksburg a beacon of liberty and freedom, and I believe this kind of rolls into that. I believe West Virginia has the ability to be somewhat like New Hampshire or other free states in our union. People want to come and live here. They may not want to go live in the county. They may not want to go live in the country. They may want to live with the benefits of city water and city sewage and, have some chickens or maybe a pig or a couple goats. And, the other aspect of the ordinance, I thought, you had to have almost a half an acre in the city, and we know that there's not a lot of lots in the city of Clarksburg that have a half an acre. There are some, don't get me wrong, there are some, we hear a lot of complaints from members of our city that say, well, look at this house across the street, it's fallen in, and the city won't do anything about it. Look at these people on our streets, whatever you want to call them, but they're wielding improvised weapons, and the city's not doing anything about it. But I'm over here, I can't own a goat. So I feel that's a little contradictory, and it's unfortunate because I believe there are people who want to live in the city and they want to raise animals for companions or slaughter. We have a really great chicken ordinance and fowl ordinance. And I don't see a lot of chickens in our city. I know there are some, but I don't see a lot. So I don't think this is going to be, the end of the world if your neighbor has a goat. So stuff like this, I'd like to see more of these ordinances. But it's just, I think we all got to come to an agreement and make sure they happen. But until we can, I guess, piece them together properly, maybe we just should skip over them for a little bit. But it's a little unfortunate. In my example, I wouldn't be able to have a goat or a pig. I basically live on a postage stamp in Northview, so I could have chickens and I could raise rabbits if I really wanted to. But I'm not that kind of guy. Chickens kind of pique my interest, but I'm way too busy to have chickens. So let's get back to the subject here. It's unfortunate that this did not pass, and I hope we can revisit it in the future, because like I said, I think we have the ability to make the city of Clarksburg and other places in West Virginia a place where people want to come and live and be free and to raise their own animals and amongst other things. So I'm not, in regards to the medical transport stuff, I'm not a big fan of that, but I understand that, we are responding to calls. The other night I saw a call on Pride Avenue as I was coming home, and I saw you guys in the expedition out there helping somebody get into the ambulance, or at least that's what I thought. I mean, I thought that was kind of relevant to this discussion. But, I feel it's unfortunate that, we have to tack on these fees. And, I saw Chief's comment in the paper about how these aren't directly paid by the citizens of Clarksburg. And, that's not entirely true. Anything you pass on to the insurance company or any other company is ultimately going to come back to you, and you're going to have to pay for it. That's how that works. So I'd like this body, before I'm out of here, to discuss a plan to create an ambulance service in the city of Clarksburg, so we can kind of generate that revenue and not piggyback on the county or Nutter Ford or the city of Salem or the city of Amor when they respond to calls in the city of Clarksburg, because we know that there's an issue at the emergency squad right now of getting to calls. And if we had our own ambulance service, we could be responding there first. And I made it a point when we got the opioid settlement money, that would be a great start to start this. And nothing is going to save more lives than an ambulance. I don't care what you say. It's not naloxone or whatever it is, or an ambulance is going to respond and save a life. And when you have an ambulance that has to come from Salem or the town of Amor or Nutter Ford because the emergency squad can't get here in time, that's somebody who's not going to make it. So I'd like to see that happen here in the city, and I'd like our fire chief to look into that, because I know that there's some interest in it, and I'd like to see that happen. In regards to the CBB, let's not make it political again. We witnessed it the first time around in 2019, and it's looks like it's heading down that road again. Let's not have that happen, okay? So other than that, let's have a great weekend, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for coming out. Thank you.
Finished?
Oh, I've been done. Oh, you didn't hear?
Mr. Jackson.
I would like to thank everyone for coming out this evening, airing their cares and their concerns. I just couldn't support the livestock ordinance. I just don't like that something that could get out of hand, and then we would be trying to close Pandora's box to get that situation fixed. I think the fees for the fire department is something that's desperately needed. We run our personnel and our resources out there. We have to be able to take care of our people and our equipment that are out there. The insurance companies can take care of those fees, and I don't believe for 1 minute that any services will ever be declined or denied to anyone here in the city of Clarksburg because of this passed. So I just want to say once again, thank you all, and have a good weekend.
Mr. Howe?
Thank you. Yeah, items A through E and G, to me, those probably most likely should have been placed on a work session, because I think you can see the amount of questions, but, honestly, I could support every one of them, and I understand the backing and the information of why we're doing them, but I think a work session in those instances be very valuable to the 7 members of council, so we can air out those, if there's differences or questions we may have, so we can come here and make a true decision and a vote in favor or against. I hesitantly voted no against 3 of them just because the way they're written or the questions I had that could have easily been answered in a work session or the time between the work session and the next council meeting. So, when these changes occur, I really highly encourage the mayor to have these on a work session versus coming here just to have just a straight out vote, because most likely if there's major changes consistently being done, count me as a no. Unless I'm fully understanding why these changes are being made going forward. And I do agree with Councilman Hyman. I think I might live on a half an acre and I might want a goat, but I don't know if my neighbors want me to have a goat. So I just throw that out there. Medical transport then, did it pass or not?
The medical transport.
Okay. Well, again, you know, and I think, you know, to me, I had other questions that I don't really think would be fair, Chief, for me to air those out in public. I think on those, after more questions arose to me, I would like to get with you afterwards because, you know, more I think about this and probably the reasoning for it, I probably could have supported it, but I just want to make sure what those reasons were truly for what I'm guessing. But I thought at the last meeting, did somebody on council not request a grant writer to be here?
Next meeting,
Not this meeting?
that's right.
Okay. The budget, when's it coming on the agenda?
It will be on the agenda next meeting. There was a bit of a mishap with the posting in the paper, and it didn't make it in on time, so it will be in there next week.
Okay.
And all deadlines will be met, because that's traditionally the meeting that it's approved on.
So the question I would have based upon that comment would be, are we having a public hearing at the next meeting?
That's how it works, yes, right?
Or when are we voting on the budget?
Next meeting.
So the public doesn't matter what they say, because we're already voting on it, no matter what they say?
It still comes to a vote. you
So
can
so
vote-
if
you
a
can
citizen
vote.
comes to speak against the budget for a specific reason that is valid, we're not gonna make a change in the budget based upon something valid they're gonna bring up.
Well, we've had 2 work sessions on the budget that were open to the public, and the last work session we had was basically a final, other than small insignificant changes. So
Okay.
there has been multiple opportunities for the public to come.
All right, I don't know if the public realizes they could speak at a work session, but,
Line item stuff, can't we?
what's that?
We can line item.
We can, if we want to do it at that meeting,
Yeah.
just want that clear. And then again, I'd asked previously about some ongoing building renovations and furniture and things that were removed, and I think I believe I was told, they were being stored in the basement in Logan Building. Is that correct?
There was a couple pieces that we kept in the Logan Building. A lot of it was auctioned off. I think there was the income from that auction was 47 or 52,000. I can't remember off the top of my head. From stored items from the city, our building, and other buildings as well.
Can council get a list of all the items and what was sold and for what dollar amount? And the reason I'm asking is typically when items are sold on auction or sealed bid, how you used auction, I guess, is that what we used?
It was auction, yeah.
So typically, those items would come back to council on a agenda for consideration to author or consideration to approve XYZ item to be sold to the chief or whatever and name that dollar amount. I was unaware there's an auction. I don't know if other council was aware there was an auction going on. I don't know where it was publicly advertised. But a lot of items sold, from my understanding, and council, unbeknownst to council. And those are city assets. That's our responsibility on those assets to make sure, you know, that we approve the sale of those items. And, you know, so if I get a list of what those items were, what the dollar amounts were that was received, and who the highest bidder was for those items, would be greatly appreciated. But some of the dollar amounts I've seen that were sold for, it disturbs me. You know, there's items on there that were worth hundreds of dollars more than the $4, the $42 that were received. You know, some of those probably should have had reserve bids on prior to having those sold. And so, you know, I think that should have been considered. So, especially some furniture, I think, that sold that was just paid off, and it was a very high bill. The city finance, and now we're selling them for pennies and pennies on the dollar. So I think we just need to look at that for the future. So with that, is there any more building construction renovations going on other than what you've done to date?
The police department downstairs is under renovation.
I would request upon completion of that we cease all renovations going forward until the next budget's approved, because these are all unbudgeted items that we're continuing to expend within the building. And, you know, I think we need to really look at the dollars and pennies that we're spending going forward. So if we could cease and desist on finish, if it's tore up, finish it. But, you know, I think that's something we really need to look at.
Finish, Mr. Howard?
Yeah, I think I'm done.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Worth?
Yeah, I want to thank everyone for coming out, voicing their concerns, and if we could, ask the city manager, if you could look into Pam's issue on Lowndes Hill, kind of maybe we could present that in the next work session or something, of, you know, how much lighting would cost on there, you know, up there. I think it's very important because, you know, a lot of people do go up there, and especially, you know, with South Chestnut Street being closed, a lot of folks that are coming from that area of town are probably using Lowndes Hill, going up over the hill to get into Uptown. So, so I think that's important too, to at least look into this and see if we could, you know, do something about that. I do like the city manager's report, like I say all the time. I mean, you know, looking at it, you know, the fire department, police department, 2,178 calls a service. You know, that's a lot for a city of, you know, 15,500. And so really commend them for all their work, and especially the fire department too. I mean, you guys coming up here, I know we supported one thing, didn't support the other. But to come up here and propose that and to be able to hash all that out and then, you know, come up with a plan afterwards, I think that's really good. I'm glad that, you know, we're going to be working together on that. And, but I want to give a special shout out, and they don't really get a whole lot of credit but to the finance department, especially during this budget season. And I think the budget's probably the biggest part of what we do up here. And their part is trying to construct a budget for us, and it's always ever changing. There's revisions left and right, and so I really want to give kudos to the finance department for all their work, you know, that they've done during this budget session. As for the agenda items, I wasn't really too vocal on the you know, on the livestock ordinance. Initially, I was for it because, you know, I'm just an old country boy from Pocahontas County, and I'm used to being around pigs and, you know, everything. But at the end of the day, you know, it's not about me. You know, people want to live in the city because they, you know, they may want to get away from that. You know, and that was kind of confused too. You know, in regards to like urban farming could help with food insecurity. We only had 3 animals on there. We had a potbelly pig, a dwarf goat, and a meat rabbit. You know, I mean, I guess you could eat a dwarf goat and a meat rabbit. But then again, I'm hearing that, you know, they want those as pets too. You know, I mean, look, you know, I'm in West Virginia just like everybody else is. You know, if I'm hungry and I want to eat something, I'm either going to go out in the woods and shoot it, or I'm going to go in the river and catch it. And that's, you know, and that's an opportunity that I have, and a lot of folks have, you know, in our state that should have. And but folks that want to live in the city and don't want to, you know, smell 4 potbelly pigs, you know, caged in a little fence, whether it's a ½ acre or whatever it is, you know, we have to honor and respect those folks' liberty too. And that's where I'm at with that. I mean, either way, I voted on this because, you know, voted against it because I went to 10 folks and all 10 of them told me no. So, and that was pretty much loud and clear and good enough for me. So, but you know, other than that, and because my wife told me that she didn't want livestock living beside her, so so that was that. other than that, I mean, with the ordinances, when it came to the fire department and the fees and stuff, I could see, I did like Councilman Howell's suggestion, or concern when it came to the liability. If we are going to charge a fee to non-emergency medical transportation agencies or companies, for assistance, whether there be liability on it. And that's why you have two readings on something. So, and I'm very confident because we have a great chief of the fire department and he'll look into that and stuff. So, so I did like that, although I did vote for that. So, and I'm gonna go with, Councilman Will Hyman on the, I mean, I'm glad our city manager's on the Visitors Bureau, but, when council starts, picking and choosing, who we want out of there, I don't know. I just don't like going down that road, especially if it, if I don't really get any information, from that board itself, if there was a recommendation to remove someone from that board. So, yeah, I had to vote against that. So, but other than that, I mean, wish everybody a great weekend and God bless you all.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Wright?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone who came out tonight as well. I totally agree that we need to follow up with your suggestion, Pam, on the lighting on Mons Hill. I agree, it's very dark up there at night and it is hard to see. So there's been so many instances recently of people getting struck by vehicles as well. It's just kind of been a little weird. So I would hate to see something like that happen up there. I also had to vote no on the livestock thing as well. I mean, I agree with you, Wayne. I grew up in the country. I'm from Doddridge County. I love animals, but I don't really know if I want my neighbors having pigs or goats necessarily. I just worry about the unintended consequences of that more than anything. And also the ability to enforce it and the resources that would be needed to enforce monitoring that. I want to also just thank all of the hardworking city employees. You can see by the city manager's report that they do so much just even in a month's time. So, we really appreciate all of your hard work and hope everyone has a great weekend. I may or may not be at the next meeting depending on if I have a baby by then. So I hope to see you all at some point, but thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Vice Mayor?
I'll keep it kind of short. I think I like that we are working, our departments, we're bringing these ordinances to us. I think there's procedure in place for us to table something for a second reading, to discuss things, and so our department heads can continue to work in real time. We don't agree with something, we want to table something, move it to a work session, which I agree with Councilman Howell. There's certain things that we probably should talk about more. I just think we should table it, work session, move forward. Department heads are continuing. The chief can go back and revisit some of the things. We don't have to vote no on it. We can table it or we can give them more time, but we just keep moving forward. And I think it's one thing that I was strongly in favor of having a full-time city attorney is because we can keep moving and we're not going to wait on things and people aren't able to just, department heads aren't really just sitting there in limbo and not wanting to move forward or not. So I like for us to just keep moving forward using parliamentary procedure, pass something. And maybe it doesn't work. Maybe the neighbor starts getting 14 goats and then, we realize that we made a mistake. With every ordinance we can pass, there's an ordinance that we can repeal. Because we won't always get it right. I mean, I know I've voted for things that turned out wasn't the best in the little time that I've been up here. I just think we just got to allow our departments to keep moving, keep working, keep moving forward, and just use the procedure to allow it to work as it should. As far as I'm glad that city manager is on the Visitors Bureau. I think one thing that our job, and especially our city manager's job, is to oversee the taxpayers' money, how it's spent, where it's spent, and what's going on. We have taxpayers' money that goes to the CVB. we as a council can't oversee that money unless we have our city manager there, able to oversee it. I didn't have one problem with anybody on the CVB, but I think, and I even before wanted to be on the CVB because I wanted the city to have a place, to have a seat at the table. Because one thing's important is promoting our city. The person that does the most work for our city on all fronts is the city manager. It makes sense for the city manager to be on the CVB. So I like all the stuff that was on this meeting. I just wish we can start using the procedures in place to just keep moving forward. And just, I think we should attack things that way. So thanks everybody for coming out, and everybody have a great weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. My turn. I want to thank the police department, fire department, Public Works for yesterday's fiasco. I mean, traffic was backed up all the way past Joy Street, and Main Street was backed up clear to Davis Weaver Funeral Home. So, it really amazes me that people get on social media and lambaste the city, the fire department, Public Works when something like this happens. And that goes along with the see something, say something. That's very near and dear to my heart. The people that are on social media lambasting the signs that were put up in the neighborhoods, they'll be the first ones to call and say, help, I need help. So, I will continue until I'm off this council. If you see something, say something, dial 911. I've got a message here, or a letter here from John McCuskey, our state auditor, and the city is receiving $25,302.47. So it's a nice little drop in the bucket for us. So other than that, everybody have a nice weekend and be safe.
Mr. Mayor, are we going to executive session?
We are not.
We are not?
There was no vote on it.
What do you mean there's no vote? Okay. Well, I'm asking, are we going, usually you do your comments first, so that's why I was asking if we're going to.
We are not.
Okay. Thank you.
Call
Move to
for-
adjourn.
I have a motion for adjournment. I have a second.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Chief, you have that one paper?